Audio boys and girls, it's time for another Jeep Talk Show interview. We're going to be talking with Anthony Dreyer. And Anthony, all the viewers here know how bad I am at pronunciating things, as I like to say. So you correct me on any of this. Actually, I was going to ask you, is it Sylva, North Carolina, that I see here in the intro? Sylva.
Correct. Yeah, I was born and raised and spent 18 years of my life before I joined the Air Force there. So
okay, I just didn't want to mess it up. It looks like
Gotcha.
Sylvia, but there's no I. Anthony Dreyer is a former U.S. Air Force Special Missions aviator with over a decade of experience in special operations aviation. He flew high-risk missions around the globe, earning multiple accolades, including the Air Force's Jolly Green Rescue Mission of the Year in 2018. Originally from Sylva, North Carolina, in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, Anthony brings the same courage and gift and grit that defined his military career to his work as an author and mental health advocate. His book and memoir, Moonchild, offers a raw and compelling look at war, trauma, addiction, and recovery, shedding light on the invisible battles and that many veterans and service members have, or that they face. All right, so Anthony, as you can tell, I wear reading glasses, and that's why I chopped that up so badly, because I don't have them on.
well, I still read on a fifth grade level, man. So somehow managed to put a book out.
I can't read.
I read books with pictures in them, So
I can barely talk. Damn it! And I've got to read too. All right, Anthony. So this is cool. Is this your first book that you've written?
It is. Yeah, it's just over a year old now. So just a relatively quick read too. It's about a 2-hour read, but it's take you through all the emotions in 2 hours is what I like to tell people. So at least what I've heard from it. So
I got a dear friend that's written a few books, and a different subject from yours, of course, but it's funny this learning the process that I've heard from her. It really almost is just something that you got to get out, a story that you have to get out, because unless there's a movie deal, you ain't making no money off of books.
Oh yeah. So that's what there is this sort of, people believe that like there's like thousands and thousands of dollars, and unless you're like big time, it's not going to, at least for me, it didn't happen like that. But it does okay, and really, I tell people that every sort of veteran and first responder in these uncommon type jobs, man, we're very just normal men and women doing these very uncommon, unnatural things. So it's good to get that stuff out, and if writing that down is a good way to do that, and somebody may benefit from your words,
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And you never know. And I think a lot of people, and this is true for podcasting as well, a lot of people go, who am I to do something like this? Who am I that, people that know me for years barely listen to me. Why are they going to get a book and read what I had to say or listen to me on a podcast? But you should do it, and because you don't know. If you don't do it, you don't know. So, let me ask you about the title of the book without giving it away too much, because we do want people to purchase the book and get it. I'm assuming it's available on Amazon and you can get it on Kindle and stuff.
Yes, sir. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, basically anywhere they sell books, and then Trademark Media.
So the name of the book is Moonchild. What's the reason for the name?
Yeah, so I was born on a full moon there in Appalachia, in North Carolina in the mountains, and then basically that was April 7th of '82, and then flying around in the gunship, you're doing this left hand turn all night. It's mostly during the night, and there's parts in the orbit, where you can sort of get lost in time and space. And
I bet.
But and you'll remember where the moon's at, sort of my get well point, almost like a lighthouse for me, And it's always been symbolic, about during those darkest nights, man, that's when the moon needs to burn the brightest, and you find those moments of light, to get you and your fellow airmen, brother, sister, through all that, So it's definitely almost like a lighthouse to me, and it made flying effortless with the terrain and easier to pick up tracer fire on MVGs and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm. So would this be the same? Is it a C-130 gunship? Is that what it is, or do they have others that other gunships?
Yeah, so it's only AC-130. The A would be attack, and the C would be cargo, and then C-130 without not being a gunship without guns would be just a C-130 for cargo. But yeah, there's back then when I first started flying, we had the H model Spectre gunship, which it had tail numbers like 6.9 and 7.2, like Vietnam. So you're flying on the the same skeletal structure of the same ones that flew over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So it was always a lot of pride in that, being a part of that unit. And it really was sort of built on giants, and we have a saying in, special operations is humans are more important than hardware, so it's really about the men and women that provide that close air support for those super ninjas on the ground, as I like to call them. Then you had the U model, the Spooky, which was at Herbert Field, which is, still at Herbert Field, that squadron.
So I did hear right. This is a gunship that you were on. So you were on the attack. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean to be offensive about this, but my only straight hand information from a gunship that orbits and you shoot stuff is from a game. I think it was Call of Duty. And what a wonderful segment that was to take on those guns and be at the in the gunship shooting shit on the ground. In what do you call it? The not the nightlight where you can see the little glowing people running around. It's
like the IR berm and stuff like that. Flare.
Yeah. So it's so horrible to actually be killing people, but these weren't real people. But you were in a situation where, I mean, they weren't shooting at the gunship that I was in the game, but you guys could get shot at, and you could lose your life doing that. I mean, it's something that people it's a funny thing. People don't want to die, so they may shoot back.
That's actually they'll tell you one of the golden rules in gunshipping, is when shooting, expect to be fired upon, and there's, there has been some lessons learned. Desert Storm had the Spirit 03, the gunship that got shot down by a surface to air missile, which is reason we usually mostly fly at night. But yeah, I mean, your whole reason for shooting would be, basically there's these guys and gals on the ground, right? They're like our nation's very best, man. And, there's letters around that squadron where like my why behind, I guess, the mission was like, there was this ranger holding his baby girl, and he's basically thanking the squadron for the rounds. He's able to go home and see his baby girl. And to me, that was the why. People get caught up on the enemy killed in action, but really it's about making sure those guys get home to their family,
I tell you what, I was never in the military. As I've said before, I'm pretty sure that had I joined, I would have been killed by friendly fire. I'm just too much of a smartass. I have a lot of respect for those men that get on the ground and they're elbow to elbow with people trying to kill them. Now I think the military does a really good job. I mean, obviously air support that you guys were doing, but just the idea of them running around the ground. I mean, you have to be a certain type of badass, and PTSD is completely understandable when you're ready to be killed at any second. You never know when that bullet might be coming from one direction or another. So, and I think you kind of go over this in your book, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And when we were in Afghanistan, the surface to air threat wasn't like at that point that high, but when the ISIS conflict started, that's when they really had some stuff that could sort of reach out and touch us, and I remember flying, man, and in the night you'd be scanning with your NVGs and there's these like, beach ball size air bursts at your 6 o'clock, so they could hear and they knew about the gunship and the props, what we call the 4 fans of freedom, and so they're basically trying to get a lucky shot on us. But once they did that, it was self-defense at that point, and we would, take care of them and stuff. But yeah, it was but the real, I guess people that are really in harm's way, man, is those guys breaching that door and they're going in there to get a heavy hitter, if you will, you know what I mean? And again, it's, you take a lot of basically pride, man, and getting those guys, the 1 in the 100 Heracles talks about home to their families. So,
I think it's great that here in this recent conflict that we were involved in with Iran, at least not publicized any boots on the ground. I suspect that we probably had some boots on the ground, if not ours, the Israelis or from one of the others. But I'm glad that we didn't have U.S. soldiers put in harm's way more so than what they were flying over it. And everybody did a stellar job. Are you happy or sad that you weren't involved in this one?
I mean, I'm sad because like, it's in a way I have to get over myself with stuff like this, and realize this machine keeps turning, right? Like,
yeah,
there's, you see the air power, right, and air superiority and stuff like that. And then you had the, basically air superiority. People talk about just the presence of American air power over a certain area, right? And a lot of times they forget about the promise to that presence. I tell people, and that's when you saw on Easter Sunday, ironically, that F-15, Wizzo went down, and you saw those mighty Jolly Greens going behind enemy lines, like putting it all out there, man. And those guys really do put it all out there to, to make sure someone's worst day is not their last. So, yeah, I miss the camaraderie, and I miss the brotherhood and sisterhood part of that, man. But yeah, anybody that's ever been in a war, they'll tell you they don't want to be in another one, So, hindsight, I wish we could do diplomacy 10 out of 10 times, right? But it's not always the case. And, people a lot smarter than me make those decisions. But yeah, I do miss being actually in the aircraft with my family,
Right. So you mentioned ISIS and the battle that you were in. There was a president prior to this one that left a few $1 billion worth of equipment for anybody to pick up. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't been on eBay yet. Can people that are not trained using that equipment figure it out if given enough time, and I guess enough people to throw at it that get killed in the process?
Yeah, so I would say it would take time, and a lot of time. I guess if you've never, like, you look at a helicopter, like first time I saw one, I was like, man, how does this thing hover? How does this thing fly? And I mean, just, then there's checklists. We're very much creatures of habit. So we've been trained.
There's a lot of maintenance to keep these things going too.
Maintenance and everything that even the logistics for the maintenance, right? All that stuff. And yeah, I think it would be a lot of time and a lot of money that they could eventually get it, but nothing in the near future where they could just, pick up something and know how to use it,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it sounds bad whenever you hear that you left $7 billion or whatever it was, all that equipment over there. I mean, you could at least just blow it up. I think it's better than leaving it operational, and I think that's what the standard is to destroy the equipment where it can't be used against you. But I don't know that it's. You think about it, they're not easy machines for the most part. I think a tank probably would be the easiest thing, but I don't know. But anyway, I think it'd be fun figuring it out. But I could well imagine it could really several people could lose their lives, especially whenever you're trying to learn how to drive the tank and you run over your buddy that's out there next to the tracks by spinning it.
I think there's some interesting videos of those. Those guys trying to fly a 60 after we left and stuff like that.
Good Lord, that would be. I mean, I would dearly love to fly a helicopter, but I've heard that hovering a helicopter is so difficult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's basically, and there was a point in my career where I went from fixed wing to rotary wing, man, and I really struggled, man, like having to forget everything I thought I knew about flying and aero gunnery coming from this fixed wing platform, right, to a rotary wing platform. And I think there's a moment in the book, man, where we're doing these minigun patterns and the racetrack type patterns in the helicopter, and it's July or August in Albuquerque, man, and I didn't eat right. I was sitting on the left for the first side, and I was getting malfunction after malfunction after malfunction. Man, there's this moment to where, like, man, I was like, I'm gonna be sick for the first time ever in the air, right? And so I was like, okay, well, if I leave my head this much out the door when I puke, it won't come back in the aircraft. And lo and behold, we had both doors, and my instructor, my actually evaluator, was in the back. And so I was like, right, and it came back and just boom, just fragged him in the back. Man, he gives me he gives me one of these numbers, but yeah, we're really good friends. We joke about it today, but yeah. But there's definitely no, with rotary wing faking it to make it, man. And like I said, those guys are really, they put it out there, man, they are their brother's keepers,
So I know in civilian flying, at least I think I know, it's been a while now, but the pilot in command in a fixed wing is on the left, and it's on the right in a helicopter, a rotary blade. Right. And I don't know why that is. Yeah. But is it the same in the military where you're your pilot in command on the right or the left?
Yeah, exactly. So when I went from gunships, the aircraft commander's on the front left, right? The left, and like you said, then helicopters, he was on the right. And what I could gather, so if we're doing a hoist, on the right side of the aircraft, because the hoist is on the 60, the right side, so he can just poke his head out and sort of see what's going on. And we do practice to do cross cockpit, what we call crew resource management, and you're doing all these different comms, and it's a very back end enlisted driven thing, like a hoist or something like that, or like one wheel hovers, for example. A lot of coordination, man.
So when you were learning to be a helicopter pilot, you had to do an auto rotate, right?
Yeah, and I was what traditionally a gunner, and what what they did was they combined the gunner with the flight engineer and loadmaster crew for it on the gunship, and then for the helicopters it was gunner and flight engineer. But yeah, you would actually train. They would decouple from the freewheeling unit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would auto rotate starting about 1,000 feet. And the first time I did that, man, my stick buddy was laughing because my eyes were like huge, you know what I mean? But I was like, man, what a pleasure and honor it is to get paid to do this, man. And
and the top of the line equipment, it's just you're the cutting edge on things there. So I from that aspect of it, I think it would have been very interesting to me to be involved in the military. But there's a lot of boring downtime as well, right?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of hurry up and wait, as they call it. It's the gunship mission was more like almost every night you're going out there and you're doing these missions. You may shoot once a week, you may shoot, once a month, depending on the situation. But 60s and the rescue side of things, that, and I get it now that's definitely a job you never want to have to do, right? And
right,
so, but it does happen, and it's usually after a long waiting period, and like I said, I mean, there's things in the Air Force, like one of the core values.
Well, they're waiting for you too, right? I mean, if you're doing a rescue mission, they may not know where the downed pilot or crew member is, but they general vicinity, and all they have to do is follow the helicopter to pinpoint the area. So it's a very dangerous mission. On the 130 stuff that you did that ever get routine to you? Or you were like, another day, another 50 cents. Let's go out there and get it done. Because it would be really exciting to me at first, and also too terrifying. But after a while, did you kind of get used to it?
So I definitely like always chase that feeling of like, that moment to where like it's a troops in contact and they call us in overhead and you see the enemy through the FLIR, like you're talking about earlier, to see them start running like bees. Like I chase that moment, as I don't know, as vain or bad as that sounds, you know what I mean? But the bigger picture was we're getting our guys home because of our rounds, So, but yeah, I think it was a sense of relevance thing. And I always loved, hearing those words, clear to engage, and definitely knew it was game time at that point.
Well, you're out there, you're doing a job. And when you're clear to engage, you're doing that job. Yeah. I mean, as distasteful as it may be, you don't have to be in that situation if countries got along.
Exactly.
So you got to get the job done, and you can't just say, well, I've found religion and I can't do this tonight,
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely, like I said, I loved being a close air support platform for those guys,
Now, did you ever get to fire the weapons from the gunship, or was that something that you did? Or I don't know, what was your job, or I guess maybe it was different jobs inside the gunship?
Yeah. So on an AC-130 gunship, the traditional gunner, or SMA as they call it now, but you're basically, your meat and potatoes, where you really make your money, is malfunction analysis. So you're loading, basically you're clearing out malfunctions, and a lot of times you have seconds to get this gun back online, right? And I know that sounds simple, but you could imagine this green
it's a pressure, it's a high pressure situation, and and you're not the only one looking at it. Everybody else is looking at you.
Yeah. I mean, and you can hear the the comms and the guys on the ground when they're getting shot at, and like, come on, get that gun back online. And so there's this. It's a very like, you find a lot about yourself in those moments, man. And definitely, they're only like pulling the trigger, as people like to say, for the 105 millimeter, which, that thing's basically like if you were to put a tank on the side of this cargo aircraft, right, there would be moments where the firing cylinder would go out and we would take parachute cord, 550 cord, and, ingenuity and stuff, and basically tie it to the firing pole and almost turn into a flying artillery guy. And you'd get the ready to fire call, and you would quote unquote pull the trigger at that point. But, on 60s, you're definitely in pulling weapons as the smaller gunner, with the minigun and or the 50 cal. So.
Oh yeah, I just saw a thing about the 130 attack the aircraft that we were talking about on TikTok earlier, and they were talking about the various guns and the 105. Yeah. So this one also had a 20 millimeter minigun and a 30 millimeter. I wouldn't say it was rapid fire, because it's kind of a boof, 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 boof. But 30 millimeters, I mean, how many of those do you have to fire quickly?
Yeah. So, and that's a very good question, man. So the H model gunship, right? The traditional, like the one I was talking about, 6972, when I flew on them, we had the 40 mil Bofors cannon, which actually Chrysler Corporation, if you look at the back of it, it's like CC for Chrysler Corporation. They'd ask you that sometimes as a gunner. And then the 105 millimeter was, like I'm saying, like this tank that
Well, it's a World War II
artillery,
howitzer. What is it? Yeah.
And it recoils up to 49 inches before we have to shut it down. But at one point, they had the 220 mils up front, and then the U model back then, the gunship, was the 40 mil 105 and the 25 millimeter Gatling gun. Sort of that's what I think he's talking about. And then nowadays, that's when you got the 30 mil Bushmaster. The basically it's electrically driven
Bushmaster. That's right. Yeah,
and it's 200 rounds per minute, man. And I got a pretty gnarly video of that. But yeah, man, I think heats up quick too. So it's definitely turned into sort of like a bomb truck now with SDBs on the wings and Griffins on the back, and so not a traditional like gunship like I started out on. But I was biased at first, to be honest with you, and I was like, man, I don't want to be on a bomb truck. I want to be in a gunship. I'm a gunner, right? But the first time you see what those weapons could do, man, to our enemies, you're like, all right, man, this is where it's at, right?
I often talk about, if you don't want to get anything done, have a meeting. Where you have a big meeting and everybody's sitting around the table. But I can kind of go for this kind of meeting. Like, well, we've got a big plane. What kind of shit can we put on it to just beat the hell out of people on the ground? Well, we got these 105s that we're not doing anything with. Can we fit one in there? So I could just imagine, because there were some sick bastards coming up with what, and not just one gun. There's like the three big honking guns on this thing. Do you guys have any kind of air support whenever you're flying your mission? Do the A-10s or F-16s come and go? F-18s come and go?
So in Afghanistan and the ISIS conflict, we didn't have like what we would call like someone like a standee flight or something like that, like supporting us, like the air-to-air type stuff, right? But sort of on your own at that point. This new day and age, I don't know how they're doing things now over there, or if they're even over there, but it's definitely, we'd had nobody but us besides getting a tanker, getting gas,
Oh yeah, of course. You're there all night. So how many times would you have to fill up during the night? And I would think that you're not doing any evasive. You're just flying in a circle. So I would imagine the fuel consumption is pretty much the same. I guess it all depends on the weather and the wind, but.
Yeah, and that's another thing. As a smaller, Special Missions Aviator, you're calculating, okay, about this point in the flight, what is my fuel going to be at, 5,000, pounds per hour with fuel.
So does the pilot do anything else? Do some of these pilots become NASCAR drivers because they're always driving in a turn?
man, you get it. Actually, the other day I compared it to a NASCAR with guns, man. If you put two guns on NASCAR, but yeah, the pilot does a lot. The aircraft commander, man, he's got in the end, he has the overall responsibility, for around leaving the aircraft. But we always like to say there's no rank on the aircraft, and from the aircraft commander down to the
it's a team, and the team has to be successful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they definitely like the 16th Special Operations Squadron. Like they're real good about like crew resource management. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a vote for this, right? So a lot of times there's no black and white, right and wrong. It's either safe or unsafe. As cliche as that sounds, and you're making those split-second decisions collectively as a crew.
Very, very good. All right, so I'm having fun talking to you about military stuff, and especially about aviation. Aviation is so much fun to me, civilian side of things. But I haven't flown in years. I don't want to give the illusion that I'm a regular flyer. I mean, it's been a very long time, but it's still a lot of fun. Do you have this type of stuff in the book that we've been discussing, or does the book go in another direction?
Yeah, it has definitely some aviation, some operations I was on from the gunship and the rescue helicopter. And then it also has grown up in Appalachia, and sort of the roots part being that, sort of the morals and friendships and family that molded me when I was younger. Then, it's good to know where you come from, but to me it's always more important to know where you're going. And that's where the wings part in the Air Force definitely gave me that opportunity, to see the world and to leave somewhat of a footprint on it,
So, did you get PTSD from your military service?
I did, yes. Especially in the rescue side of things, in that job.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sometimes, man, you could see the worst thing that could happen to somebody. And I don't wish that on anybody, and there was a mission June 8, 2018 in East Africa. And, we saw the best side of combat search and rescue that day, right? Saving 5 guys, and one guy, when he died, he got back on the operating table, he died, so we saw the worst side. And I tell people, man, another reason why I wrote it is because, this is what goes on when you're sleeping, and I want to tell America that. And these stories die in the sand, and that's someone's brother, someone's son, someone's friend that made that sacrifice for our freedoms.
Mm-hmm. So I find it interesting. You said that you miss it and you'd like to still be doing it, even after you've gone through all this stuff with the PTSD. you wouldn't choose to not go and do it. I mean, I'm sure it's changed your life.
To me, it was everything. Actually, I'm going to sum this up with a quote I heard the other day, and it goes something like this. The very definition of hell is your last day on earth. The person you became is the person you could have become. And my grandfather asked me one time, he's like, "Man, do you remember your great grandparents?" And I don't. I should have, but I didn't. And the point that he was making is like, it's you can leave this earth, people you can remember you, or they won't. For something good or for something nothing at all. So definitely, I wanted to be part of that fight and serve the highest capacity I could.
Mm-hmm. I haven't said it, but I always do. Thank you for your service. I really appreciate it. I grew up, I was very young at the time, but I did grow up around the Vietnam War, and it was horrible. I didn't have any kind of, I was young, so much of it, I didn't care more so than just Americans being killed and seeing it on the news. Well, they actually took film cameras out there during Vietnam, and they would report it on the news using the film that they had recovered, like 14 hours earlier. It's amazing where we are now with our technology. But whenever the soldiers came back from Vietnam, it was insane. I don't know why in the world anybody that's protecting your way of life. You can disagree with a war, that's fine. But the people that went out there to put their lives on the line to protect us or to project our power, to maybe even help a people, kind of like what just happened in Iran. I mean, they supposedly the Iranian government killed 35 to 40,000 of their people because they were protesting. I don't like the idea of us being police, but damn it, letting stuff like this go on in the world, I don't. And when you have the ability to do something about it, I don't think it's right. I think you need to tell them, diplomatically first, stop that. And then if they don't stop that, go and encourage them vigorously to stop that.
And there's also another quote that goes, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Exactly.
And I think that's, I definitely wanted to, again, serve the country the highest capacity I could, and just make my family proud and try to do it with as much honor as I could. And I did go through some dark times while I was in, and I got a lot of help for that and prolonged exposure. I'm on meds now, and I'm not ashamed to say that, but I think I'm a constant work in progress, but at least I could say I lived and I got to aviate, navigate, and communicate, man, in the best squad in the world,
Mm-hmm. Do you keep up with any of the old people that the teams that you were a part of?
Oh yeah, actually, I do the flight simulators here on Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. So it's rare, but I still see some of the men and women I used to fly with, anywhere from pilots to gunners and stuff like that. And it's man, it's just such an awesome life, man. And just flying, man, there's something about it. Once you do it, you're hooked, man. Once you do that first mission, I want to do that for the rest of my life in that moment.
Yeah. Do you ever get to get any simulator time? Don't tell me yes if you're not supposed to.
Yeah, we definitely get in there and see if I can put it on the ground as a gunner and stuff like that, and see what the pilots are actually going through. And my whole job now is to basically create these scenarios for like the AC-130s, the MC, and the U-28. And basically the idea is it could be emergency procedure, could be a threat, dodging a threat or something like that, or in the gunship shooting actual targets, and it actually moves when we shoot the simulator. So it's pretty crazy.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, man. And it's I tell people I've never been a video game guy, man, but I get to literally go play an $80 million video game every day, but the beauty of the fruit in that labor would be, as you get those guys these scenarios that maybe you've had or someone else has had, and like when they get downrange and it happens, they take a second and like, okay, I've been here before. I've been here 100 times in training. This is what it is, so you see that sort of that fruits from that labor,
Yeah. I can well imagine that there are some virtual 3D stuff going on, not in that simulator, but some virtual stuff where you put the headset on, and especially for the ground soldiers to go into an area and study and learn that especially with our satellites and stuff. I imagine the detail is very, very rich. I recently got a VR headset, and I was telling my wife, I bet you the military has something that's so beyond this, because if you can go and train in the area that you're going in, it's so much better. It's wonderful.
100% right. 100% right on that. Yeah.
And the same thing with the simulators. You can go and do these scenarios that you probably will never have the, I don't want to say the ability or to enjoy it, but it's a challenge. And then whenever you go through the challenge, you've learned it.
Yeah.
World War II, that wasn't the case. I mean, you had hours that you flew, combat missions that you flew, and that was your simulation. But these simulators, I have this vision in my head of the simulators that you run. Some like the ones that I've seen in Intercontinental Airport here in Houston. They're huge, absolutely huge, and I can well imagine that would just be a blast. Do you guys ever mess with the pilot? So let's see what he can do with this one. Let's throw this one in there. And
yeah, can't confirm or deny, but
yeah, exactly. Good. Because there's no fun in the military unless you can fuck with somebody.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back to the book here. So, tell me more about the book. What are the highlights that you think people should look for in the book, and why they should buy it? Frankly,
yeah, definitely a kid. Grew up in a small town, and basically, decided to leave that and serve my country. And it's got anything from some dick and fart jokes. There's some funny moments in there. There's some very the darkest moments of my life in there, man, where I decided to choose better over bitter. And basically, it's a guy who wanted to live a house money life is the chapter. I called that in the book, and with life, how much more aggressively would we gamble if we were playing on the house's money, man? And basically, a kid, decided that, probably still reasonable 5th grade level just to go get it, man. And then to try to write it down and paint a picture for one. If one person gets help reading this book, we talk about the 22 a day and stuff like that with mental health and veterans, then that's a blessing. That's a win. And again, the second point to show the rest of America, hey, this is what really goes on when you're sleeping, and freedom's definitely not free.
So correct me if I'm wrong on this. This is for the people that don't know about the 22 a day. The 22 a day is a mission to keep 22 military people, current or former, from committing suicide.
Yeah, and that was the 22 at the time when they got that average, that number. That was the amount of veterans, believe it or not, or day that was taking their lives within America. Mm-hmm. And so even one is too many. I look at it like that, but if I look at it this way, I can either talk about it, man, or I can actually try to help someone. And I tell people, like, when you're checking on your battle buddy, wingman, even your 4 quarters you call friends and not your 100 pennies, right? Like, them and they know you. So it's a difference between saying, "How's it going, brother?" or like, "Hey, man, how you doing, really, bro? Like, what's going on?" You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's not just the standard greeting that you lie to everybody there. How you doing? Fine.
Yeah.
Well, do you just want the fine response, or do you really want to know that type of thing?
Yeah. and every now and then they'll tell you what's really going on, man. And that's sometimes you could save someone's life. You never know, bro.
Mm-hmm. Well, just talking about it, it's amazing how much you can get out of your brain and off your shoulders, the weight, by talking to somebody about it. Do you cover therapy in the book at all? Because I think that I think you can't mandate therapy, but you should make it really easy for people to get therapy, to get through this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So I did the prolonged exposure through USOCOM has this thing called the preservation of the force and family. So each of these type squadrons, right, whether it's Air Force, Army, etc., you have a psychiatrist, you have a physical trainer, and a physical therapist in these type things. And she was a civilian lady. And, what had happened, man, was especially after the cast back, especially after this loss of identity happens, where I realized that, the end's near. I'm at past 20 years at that point. And what was a weekend drinking habit became at least a pint a night with pills, man, you name it, to go to sleep, really tearing up myself, man. And my wife gave me the ultimatum, hey, it's either the bottle or me and your daughter. And, I tell people I've been called many call signs, Arrow Gunner, SMA, Uncle Tito, which is about drinking in itself, and the best call sign I ever had was when my daughter called me dad, man. And that's when I decided to get help, and I did the prolonged exposure therapy. And I tell people, man, remove that stigma. If you're in a leadership type spot, no matter where you are, when your troops see you get help, like I saw other people get help, and it's contagious, and you'll realize it is okay to get help. It's, again, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to do nothing about that, is the way I look at it.
Well, it's such a relief. I went through a divorce when I was my early 30s, and my now ex-wife and I went at her request to therapy, and she didn't want to. She just stopped going because it wasn't all my fault. She didn't like that, so she stopped going. But I kept going because I didn't want to make the same mistake that I had made that time. And after that, I now look at it like it's not a weakness. it's a huge help, because even though we were raised by great people and lived a great life up to the point that we lived, there's things that you miss. There's things that you don't understand, and especially in your situation, you were doing things that a lot of us have never done, and so who's going to teach you how to handle these things? So I think I'll do a Star Trek reference. So when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, they had a spot on the bridge for a therapist. And she was right there on the bridge, and she would talk to people about their feelings and all that stuff. I think everybody should go through therapy, whether you're having a problem or not, just so you can have some questions answered about right and wrong. And this is my belief, and I know it's right, but I don't have that validation as to me being right. And I can well imagine that some of the thoughts and feelings that you had in your military service, you were confused about. It just helps somebody guide you. I mean, they don't tell you if you're right or wrong, but they guide you through that reassurance that you did the right thing, or so on and so forth. So I think the therapy side of things is very important.
Yeah, and I think just like with your Jeep, right? Like you when the scheduled maintenance is, right, but some of those other bumps that may have threw something off course on the way, man, that's the ones that you should, there's nothing wrong with taking it to the mechanic just to see, right? So I look at it as almost like a checkup type thing with a vehicle, and I definitely tell people, man, it's not if, it's when in that life where all this stuff bowls over, you hit that bullet point, and it's okay to take that tactical knee, man. And, in the end, in these type of professions, we have to be able to trust you with our best friend's life, and someone explained that to me once. And, that really hit home to seek help and see that it's okay to get help, and I did give the psychiatrist with a very big chip on my shoulder the cliche of like, she's like, well, I was like, well, you wouldn't call your dentist to fix your car or something like that, is what she said. And I was like, well, what if he's a mechanic, and me being an idiot, but realizing like this lady knows so much about my psyche that I never knew, so I say, give it a chance and you'll be surprised what happens, man.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine therapists have some very interesting things. I wonder who therapists talk to about what they go through every day.
That's a good question, man. I saw this thing and there was a very real moment. I didn't put this in the book, and I don't know if I should say this, but when they're writing something down, it was like a meme I saw the day. I did something like this. Like, can I see, and this laughing moment with the therapist, but you definitely, man, that prolonged exposure therapy, you're definitely getting comfortable being uncomfortable, man. And it definitely made me a better father, better husband, better airman,
I think that we are put here to learn how to deal with fear. Because fear will stop you from thinking correctly, and you will you'll make wrong decisions. So I think that is our reason, dealing with fear and just knowing it's going to be okay. It's a problem. It sucks. I don't like being in this, but I'll just step through it like I always do, and I'll be a success. Having that confidence to complete what you need to do. So and I think that your book probably helps people with that, and also gives people that have no idea, has never experienced what you experienced, just a taste of that.
Oh yeah, and it definitely takes you through to all the emotions within a couple of hours is the most common feedback I get on it, and and it's got some of the funniest moments of my life, the happiest, and then the darkest, man. And there's a saying in the book that I quoted Henry Ford, right? And when you're going through something, you're going through the worst moments of your life, man, that he says that an aircraft takes off against the wind, not with it, right? So we can't have lift without some drag, the parasitic drag, right? So I think that's part of life, man. That's part of being human, and it's part of getting on the other side of that dark tunnel, man, to that light, man. So it's get help if you need it, and you'll be glad you did. So
you mentioned the Jeep and taking it to somebody to be repaired. I don't mind taking it to be repaired on some things that I'm questionable about doing, but I'm standing there watching them, and then it dawned on me: you're getting in a plane every night that somebody else has worked on. Were you ever nervous about the mechanics that were maintaining that plane? I mean, after a while you kind of get used to it, but they could have a bad day, they could have a bad night, and they could miss something. I mean, I guess the worst case is, as long as the plane doesn't fall out of the air, you can always fly back and tell them to get it right this time.
I will say, like, from what I experienced, like, our maintainers are the best in the world at what they do in Air Force Special Operations Command. They burn the midnight oil, you name it, whatever they got to do to get that bird ready, you know. And I trust them with my life as I'm sure they trust us with theirs, you know. So definitely it's you see the big picture, you know, between the mechanics, you know, and between the logistics people, between the intel people, and this big beautiful thing called air power comes together, man. So it's an awesome thing to see.
So would you say your book is for military people or civilians, or yes?
Yeah, I would say both. Yeah, and definitely for people in uncommon, you know, type jobs, I would say.
Any plans for an audiobook?
Yeah, man. I've heard that a few times. I wouldn't know how to do that. I'm going to have to talk to my publisher about that. But you know, it would sound very, you know, Appalachian if I did it, man. Like I said, I was telling you earlier, man, I probably still reading the 5th grade level, and that twang
I would
come
get
out.
Vin Diesel. Personally, I get Vin Diesel, and instead of him actually speaking every word, he just says Groot. So over and over and over again. the Groot
one time, man.
The Groot special edition.
Yeah. Hey, what was that rock from Guardians of the Galaxy? The rock sort of structure guy, was that not Groot? What's his name?
I know there was one that had the Australian accent that was from Marvel that was with was
it Korg or yeah, the rock guy, man. Somebody called me that guy one time and said, I was like, dude, I sound nothing like that
he
guy.
was funny. He was really funny. Yeah. So all right, so the book's for everyone. You can get it at Amazon. What did you say? In Barnes and Noble, pretty much any place you can get a regular book, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations on getting somebody to help you, you know, publish your book, because that's an ordeal as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because what had happened, I had at least what I thought was enough for a book, and on LinkedIn of all things, I reached
and then they corrected you.
Oh yeah. I reached out to a war journalist on LinkedIn, and I think I searched something like editors for military stories or something like that, and she responded within minutes. Holly McKay, you know, the war journalist, and man, she did a really good job, man, because about like there's Word document going back and forth, man. She's like, hey, what are you really trying to say here? What does acronym mean here? Like getting everything out of me, man, that I didn't think I had in me, you know what I mean? And give my words teeth. It was, then she recommended a publisher, which is the hardware of your book, you know, the cover page and stuff like that.
I know you have a copy of the book. Show that for the folks that are here watching us on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, so it's a Moonchild. It's me and the H model gunship. You see the cheeks on it right there. That's how you recognize it. And then it's got me and my mask in the back, was sort of mixed in with a moon.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have many craters on my face for real, but you know, so it's an awesome experience to get to write a book, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I imagine. And that's kind of a therapy thing as well, right? Because it's like talking it out, but you're putting on paper. And then you have the wonderful position to be in where everybody's correcting you. No, what the hell does this mean? Do more of this, do less of this. Yeah.
It was an awesome experience. But I will say what I found out, what writing works for me. And I'm not this huge famous author, probably never will be, probably never be a millionaire from writing books. But what I will say, what has worked a little bit for me is the thing you're afraid to say the most, man, throw that on paper and just see how far your words travel, bro.
Exactly. So Moonchild is the name of the book. And I got to ask you before we wrap up, tell us about all the UFOs and UAPs, especially that one that you flew.
Yeah, I wish I'd have the opportunity. Somebody like,
that'd be a different book, right? You wouldn't even talk about it. You'd say, "Well, I'll tell you about it in my next book." That's a good teaser.
I mean, I wish, you know. I mean, I think that it is what they call the age of disclosure now, right? And you're seeing this stuff starting to come out, and you know, since the beginning of time, we've always wondered if we're alone in the universe, and you know, I think it's very probable and possible for us not to be the only intelligent life in this.
Oh my God, there's so much to it, the universe that we're learning about. Oh, yeah. How in the hell, what kind of mathematical idiot would be that there would be one intelligent life form? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because I thought about it the other day, I was like, I can't even in my mind process how big this universe is, right? It's still growing, right? Or how old this universe really is, man. And you know, and I think that, like, you know, there's a very good likelihood, especially with all this smoke now, right? There has to be somewhat of a fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got some decorated aviators in Senate hearings, man. Like, I've seen some stuff. I personally never seen anything I couldn't explain. I always wanted to, right? But I mean, I think we're not alone. If I had to put money on it.
So this is so funny. I've got a good friend, fellow Jeeper, came out to the one of the Jeep Talk Show events that is a naval aviator, used to be. He's a pilot, commercial pilot now for many years. but he actually flew with and trained with Captain Farber, the guy that actually had the TikTok video and was in front of Congress and stuff.
Oh
and,
yeah.
And you'll love this because you're military. He told me, you know how they put the call sign or the name on the pilot's canopy, F-18 side of the canopy. He was Sexual Farver. So they were doing a little twist, but they never talk about that. They never talk about that in front of the congressman and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny about the gunship? I actually got a picture. I may send it to you, but it's aircraft number 73, and you know the Tyrese scene in Transformers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, "Bring the rain," you know, and they actually put a Decepticon on the side of the gunship because, you know, when there's sometimes they, you know, the guys for tradition, and you know, they would put a stickman on the side of the gunship for, you know, and a certain one meant so many enemy killed in action. But yeah, somebody went ahead and threw a Decepticon on there, man. I always get a kick out of that picture.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. So, and I'll just wrap up with this. We laugh and enjoy the idea that we're taking care of the enemy. Of course, they're people. I don't think anybody really wants to kill people, but like I said earlier, if countries got together and did what was best for them and the rest of the world, then we wouldn't have this situation. I'm not saying the U.S. is always right. But damn it, we don't have to be because we got the firepower.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're the richest, most powerful, probably most feared country in the world, man. And I think it took a lot of spilt blood for that freedom, you know, for that flag. So, and
I really appreciate everybody putting together all these amazing machines and training the amazing people, our soldiers. I just don't know. I just don't know if I was in charge of another country that I'd want to do anything to piss the United States off. I mean, I think we're slow to act, but when we act, we do it and get it done. At least that's the way I like seeing it as an American.
Oh yeah, you know, and if I could to tie it to some Jeep stuff here, man, you know, talk about ingenuity. There's something about Americans, man, where when we have to do something, we do it. If you ever notice, like our greatest generation, like World War II, right? So Eisenhower himself said that the Jeep and the C-47 aircraft was two of the primary things that won us that war, you know. And
absolutely,
and I think, you know what I mean. And I think that level of awesomeness in the country and togetherness and the ingenuity and just living bold, you know.
And it's still there. It hasn't changed. That ingenuity 100%. And the honor of being American is still there, just like it was in World War II.
Yeah, like they say, where there's that spirit, there's freedom, man. So.
Very, very good. Anthony, I certainly appreciate you being here with us today. Good luck with the book. I'll have to go over to Amazon and check it out, especially look for the Kindle version. Kindle's so nice. I mean, if you get the physical book, that's cool too. But really, all it winds up doing is, you know, it goes in the shelf in the background. You got all these books.
Kindle's so is instantly available, and
it's with you. It's on your phone. It's in a tablet. It's on your computer. Right. So yeah, I really like that. Actually, get both. Get a Kindle and a regular book. Are you have any plans on doing autographs on the book?
Yeah. Every now and then, man, I'll send a signed one. Somebody emails me at anthony.dreyer@gmail.com. I do my best to try to, you know, within my financial means, get them a copy that's signed and everything like that. And yeah, and also I did one book signing back home last July in my City Lights bookstore in Sylva, North Carolina, and that was an awesome experience, man.
So are you on the social media?
Yeah. I'm Instagram would be all lowercase Marco_Brolo21, and then Facebook, this is Moonchild, and it's me looking out the window with some MVGs on in the moon.
So just I think it would be fun to do. It's not good. It's not good PR. I think it's just funny. Self-deprecating humor. I think it's funny. You go to a book signing and you set up to sign the books 30 minutes prior to the event time, and you just sit there waiting to sign books.
You're sitting
somebody
at a few people. Yeah.
Come here, help me. I'm all alone. I think people that would find that funny.
Yeah. And plus, I was so nervous for that team, man, because it was people I hadn't seen in 30 years or so, man. You know, and it was just very emotional, very overwhelming, man. But they showed up, man, and I went trade my little small town there in the, nestled in Appalachia for nothing, man. So.
Oh, why do you not whistle in the woods in Appalachia?
Because it invites basically when you're along the woods and you whistle, it invites whatever entity that is. There's mountain haints, there's the Appalachian skinwalkers, and basically you're inviting that spirit in as the the tale behind it, you know.
So people still have stills and drink a lot of booze that is questionable in that area, right? So that's probably the reason for the whistling.
Yeah, probably let them know the feds are coming, you know.
Oh yeah,
that's really where NASCAR started, you know. Was
oh yeah, driving the booze. Yeah,
oh yeah,
that's really cool. All right, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you go by Anthony and not Tony, because having another Tony on here would just be rough.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that too, man. But yeah, it was honestly a pleasure and honor to be here, Tony, and I appreciate your platform and letting me get on here and speak to some of these things. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely. You have a great day.
You too, brother. Thank you.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.